Okay, starting up. All right, what's up? Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the stream. My name is Eric. I'm the photographer and editor who will be with you today and every day because that's what I do here. And today we are going to be we're trying something new. Um, I'm in the midst of a bit of a career shift. Fingers crossed, I hope. We'll see. Um, and I want to bring my photography more to the forefront. So we're going to be doing hopefully weekly daytime editing streams, which is hopefully a little more accessible than the nighttime ones I've been doing. Yeah, not I may still do nighttime ones, but yeah, probably gonna try to do a weekly daytime stream at least once a week. So yeah, weekly once a week. I'm on the ball. This is good. This is going really well for the start of this project. Um, okay, so today we got a cool thing we're gonna be doing. I've got a set of photos from Alaska and a set of photos from Virginia, and I'm not sure which ones I want to do, so we're gonna flip a coin. We'll flip a coin and see which one we end up with. And yeah, that's what we're gonna spend the next hour and change working on. Let's see. Any other quick things? As always, I want this to be kind of an open forum. I want this to be as much as conversational as it can be. So if you are watching and you have suggestions, if you have thoughts, if you have questions, comments, want to know why I'm doing something a certain way, want to know how I did something, if there's any, if there's any feedback, any comments, if you want to share your own work in the chat and let people see that, you are more than invited. This is as much as this is a platform for me, I want to share it with as many people as I can. So here we are. Here you are, and let's make this a thing. Okay, so let's see. Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and flip. We'll do. Let's see. Heads here is. It's not gonna focus there. Maybe. Heads is a bear. Tails is an eagle. So yeah. What do you think? Heads Alaska. Tails Virginia. That's what we'll do. So bear Alaska. Tails Virginia. Heads. We're going to Alaska. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Let's jump into Lightroom. And here we go. Let's see. We're going to go to, where am I looking? Alaska's all the way up here. There we go. That's it. We're going to go to Glacier Bay. So these are the photos I took in Glacier Bay National Park when I was there in July. If you were watching my stream from back in July, end of July with Shelby Lynn Persley, we did a collaboration, me editing photos and her doing poetry at the same time. This is so you may have seen me editing some of the photos. This is the rest of the group. Haven't sorted through all of them, but there's the let's see, there's one of the ones we edited. Uh, yeah, so there's one of the ones we did. Here's the let's see the before and after. So yeah. So yeah, we're gonna do some more of that. Let's see. I think I actually want to start this time because Glacier Bay is gorgeous, kind of across the board. Um, but I think I want to start with is this an animal shot? No, it's an iceberg. Yeah, iceberg sitting down there in the water. Um, I think I want to start this with. Oh yeah, there's one of the ones we did for the poetry. We did a couple from here. Yeah, there's that one. Kind of leaning into the texture and the contrast that lives in that exists in the actual ice of the glacier. Let's see. I want to start near the end here because there's a bunch of photos that I did. Kind of yeah. Here we go. This area, kind of as we were sailing out of the bay, uh, that I think are cool. So we're gonna start with some of these. I think I'm gonna start with. Who did I already start working on this one? Let's see what this looks like. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Yeah, we'll work on this one for now. Excuse me. Yeah, we'll tweak this a little bit, see where it's at. So there's another photo in here that I know I wanna jump into. I'm gonna cut my teeth on this. Let's see, crop wise, okay, that looks fine. a little bit soft focus-wise. Let's bring up the texture. Bring up the texture of the mountain. Have I done any masking on this photo? Okay, so we selected the. Okay, doing up to the background. All right. Not sure why though. Looks like we're. Okay, I guess bringing up the contrast on that. Let's do a new one. Let's select the sky. That is wonderfully strong tea today. Okay, looks pretty good. We're gonna do a subtract brush real quick and just kind of lightly brush off the clouds at the top, coming over the top of the mountain. Because I kind of like the way they look, but I don't want to blend it off entirely. Cool. And then we're gonna bring the highlights down. We're just bring some of the shadows down. Bring the blacks on. That's gonna be the. That's better. I want to just get some texture in there. If I dehaze it, it's gonna get ridiculous. That's a bit much for my taste on this one. Bringing the clarity up's not bad. Texture, texture up. Does that give me too much noise? A little bit. Let's bring that back down. Let's keep the texture. Yeah, let's leave the texture where it is. We can denoise this though, so that'll be worth doing because the denoise feature actually is pretty good on Lightroom when it comes to this kind of thing. So we're gonna watch that get cleaned up. That looks. I can be happy with that. Cool. All right. If I bring the whites, nah, the whites and blacks are where this is kind of really living at. I kind of like the darkness, but not quite. Nah, it's fine, that blend. Something like that. That's good. Okay. And now let's do a new mask. Uh, that will be. I tell it to select the subject. What is it going to give me? I'm curious. What does it think the subject of this photo is? It thinks it's. Okay. I really wouldn't have guessed that. Yeah, we're deleting that mask. That's not helpful. Let's do a new one. Let's do. What I want to do is get the ocean. And so I'm thinking, I think the easiest way is just to do it with a linear gradient. Just do a line. All right. So we're going to grab this. We're going to put it right along the edge of the water there. We're going to bring this down, make it a little bit of a sharper line because we actually have that. Nice. Kind of like that. And then we also, once again, use a subtract brush. There we go. To kind of get this island sort of cleared off. There we go. The island and the little bits at the bottom here. Not that it matters a whole lot because everything is nebulous when you're editing photos, especially this kind of thing where I want things to sort of blend. Let's go ahead and get this guy sort of cleared off a little bit like that. There we go. Let's clear off this guy over here, that whole little area. I can bring some of this back if I need to. Let's get it off the mountain. Get it off over here. Cool. All right, so we got the water selected now. Clean that. Okay. And now with this, I can bring up the texture, can bring up the clarity. Give it kind of that. Yeah, give it a little more of a darkness to it. A little more texture down at the bottom of the picture. I like that. Okay, cool. So we're done with that one. Fun fact, I don't know if you can see it in this shot because I think we're too far out. Is this the island that had them? Let me do an original. Oh, yeah, there they are. Okay. So you can't really tell in this photo because it's that zoomed in, but or because it's that far out. But all the little kind of tan or dark lines and spots on this island, those are all harbor seals. That is a whole colony of harbor seals hanging out on that kind of secondary island. But you can't tell on this one, which is why it's in the. Yep, gotcha. Which is why this photo is in the Glacier Bay category, not in the wildlife category. So there we go. I'm gonna crank up the contrast on the whole photo just a bit. Actually, hang on. Bring the blacks on the whole photo just a bit. Get a little more of that texture in there. And yeah, I think we're good. Okay. Now where's the photo there's one photo in here that I thought about that I looked at and was like, oh, that's the one I really want to touch on. Where did that one go? It's a mountaintop one. It kind of looked painterly. Um, wasn't that one? It was close to that one. Was it this? No, this is something different. Let's see. That's the one. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So this one, I look at this and this looks like a watercolor to me. Like my first thought is this looks like a watercolor painting. So we're gonna we're gonna lean into that. I want to get this centered because I like having that peak in the center. Maybe a little bit, maybe a tiny bit off. But yeah, I like that. Cool. And this is usually I'm all about bringing up the texture and the clarity. I think this time we're gonna be doing the reverse. I'm doing the texture down, bring up the dehaze, and let that kind of yeah. This one's all about blending. Contrast down. Nah, I like the contrast because it's color contrast. Bringing the clarity down a little bit. There's something to it. There's something really artsy about this photo, and I like it. I really don't want to. Normally, I'm all about contrast. I'm all about sharpness, and I'm all about like leaning into texture and darkness. This one I want to make it. I want to make it soft, which is new for me. That's kind of cool. Ah, delicious. So yeah, we're gonna bring up the. This is the thing that if you wanna, as an example, like if I take this photo here, I'm gonna reset whatever I do here. Oh, there, yeah. Hey, now you can see some harbor seals. Look at them, just all hanging out on their island. Um, so yeah, if you up the contrast, you're gonna darken the darks, you're gonna brighten the whites, and everything else kind of gets affected. Uh, to as if it is super dark, it gets super darkened. If it's sort of dark, it gets sort of dark. It's kind of how it works. If you want to achieve a similar effect and kind of separate the darks and the lights, you do that with highlights and shadows. So you bring up the highlights, the darks stay the same, but now the highlights are brightened and the shadows, same deal. You can do them separately. But the reverse is also true. If I bring down the contrast, and this is kind of contrast is in my mind it's kind of a blunter instrument. I don't really use it as much unless I want to just like if I just need to tweak it a little bit. I prefer using highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. Um, but if I bring down the contrast, it kind of softens everything. You can do the same thing by doing it by taking highlights and shadows to the opposite direction in the opposite directions. If you take the shadows up and the highlights down, you're basically removing contrast. But what's interesting is that this to me still looks like the balance here is still decent. Whereas this just looks like we put a kind of a gray filter over the shot. So highlights and shadows I think are much more you can do a lot more of them. Let's take that back to the import settings and go back to this one that we're actually editing. Whew, I like that. Okay, I'm gonna go down to the sharpness sliders down here, and I'm gonna take that down. I want to soften these a little bit. I'm also gonna bring the luminance way up because I might overdo it, but actually that looks pretty good in terms of making this look like a painting. Like, yeah, bring that up. Um, could bring up the contrast on the luminance. I don't think it's making enough of a difference for me to worry about it. Nah, let's keep it all low and keep it all soft. That sounds good. Okay. Next thing, my next question is, do I want this in black and white or color? Nah, I want it in color. I like the blue. I like the blue just sort of drifting in and out. So, I don't really want to change the color of the blue. I could, and notice when I like one thing I like using the hue sliders for, if I'm not directly trying to change the hue of something, is to just see what So I mean I look at in this picture it's easier to tell. This picture I look at this and I'm like, okay, those clouds are bluish. But sometimes you look and you're like, I'm not sure exactly what colors are connecting with that, and you can kind of throw the hue sliders around and be like, all right, what's because they'll give you a nice big thing. It's interesting. There's no aqua in this. Is there purple? It's a little bit of purple. You can see the slight change. There's a little bit of purple. Um, and then yeah, basically if I do this, everything is blue. Like blue is almost everything is like 93.5% of everything that's involved here. I'm gonna push the purples over to a lighter blue, um, because I think that kind of keeps everything blue and takes away a little bit of contrast. I could up the saturation again, up in the saturation on the whole picture. I don't like that as much. You want to find the right level of texture. I want a lot less than I usually do, but I like this. I think this is good. But the other thing I'm gonna do, like I could do the purples and kind of get that blue, but I kind of like it where it is. What I want to do though is go to the luminance on purples and kind of brighten that up. And if I brighten that up, it gives me tiny bits of texture in here, not in a bad way, but it gives it. The thing I always like to look for is like, okay, um we're doing a like okay, so 90, like I said, 93.5% of this is blue. So if I want to adjust little bits of light here and there, if I want to adjust little pops of, kind of just give it a little more contrast and definition, um, like if I play with the blue slider, it's going to be way brighter or way darker. That's interesting. I don't hate that. That's a completely different photo and very moody. I might do something. I might do that. Let's go ahead and create a virtual copy so I can do that. Because I kind of like having one that's just kind of that level of bleak. And then I'll play with the contrast in a sec. Anyway, back to here. But yeah, so so being able to adjust the purple a little bit gives me just that little extra pop while blue kind of still is the workhorse. Um, Pause for tea. All right, so there's that. Um, in terms of cropping, I think I want to pull this down just a. No, I can go up. I can actually, something about this. The framing is not quite what I want. Let's go to there. It's interesting. I was on a film shoot this weekend. Uh, that's better. And we talked to like usually when you're on a when you're in a film shoot and what I'm gonna say is like it's kind of the like generic standard industry model and it changes probably it's probably true less of the time than it's true than yeah it's probably true less of the time than it's false, but if you say like, all right, pitch me a standard, here's how we shoot a scene, you you start with wide, you go to medium, you go to close up, like you like close ups are where all the emotion is, close ups are the ones you want to work up to. um Especially if it's an emotional scene, you want to let the actor kind of get into it in the wide, and then you can move in for close-ups once they're safely in that headspace and can really nail that close-up shot with the emotions that they're portraying. um I'm starting to I'm realizing I prefer to like to do it that yeah, you do it that way, and then you go back and do one more wide, um, because you discover things as you get closer and closer. And you discover different things, and you discover different emotions and ideas and different kind of shifts in a character. And it's cool to go back and have a wide that matches that and kind of see. It's like, okay, you've now locked it in with your face. You've locked it in the close up. Now let's take what we've just kind of learned together and translate it into the body. Um, and in some ways, the photography equivalent is like I do a crop of my photos. Like cropping my photos is usually one of the first things I do because I connect with composition, and then I usually go back at the end. Now that I'm like, okay, the photos show me more of what it is. There we go. And once that happens, I'm gonna recrop this because it needs because it has a like I'm gonna recrop it because it now has I now know more about what this photo is and it means more to me now. Okay. So taking the purple sun gets rid of that. That's the danger. The danger of you of doing super when the blue is kind of centered, I can get away with pushing the purple up a little bit. You get a little more texture. It's sort of the colors grading against each other, but not in a way that in a way that kind of in my head adds like brush strokes to this photo. So I like that. In this case, however, with the blue all the way down and the purple all the way up, you get this really like grating texture kind of in the middle there, even though this is all kind of has been blurred because I have it very soft. But you kind of get that that roughness to it where if you soften it all the way down, it comes out smooth, and I like that. Okay. Ah, get Lightroom. Can I just keep my control panel on the side? That'd be very nice. All right. Bringing the texture up on this one works. If this with this shot being darker, the texture coming up is helpful. Going all the way up really gives that a texture to it. I didn't think that was gonna happen. What's it look if I do it here? Oh, you know what? I was wrong to get rid of the texture. That's pretty good. Let's bring it down a bit on this one. Then again, I don't know. This one is so esoteric. This one has a grit to it that I like, and in keeping the texture up, I like that. It gives it a real painterly look. Okay, that one's staying. Okay, cool. I think we're good here. That's one, and that's mark those both as done. All right, let's do an actual shot with a glacier. Let's do that. Let's go and do a glacier bay shot, or at least something with water in it. Um, yeah, as I'm picking photos here, I want to go give a quick shout out to Evelyn. If you're watching, very happy to have you. You're amazing, and yeah, keep doing all the great stuff you're doing. Uh, and also to Mia. Mia, if you're watching, very happy you're here, and yeah, hope you two are smiling and laughing and enjoying the photos. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and move along to a glacier shot. This is Marjorie Glacier. I've done a lot of stuff with Marjorie Glacier in the past. I'm gonna come back and do all these. Hey, look at the railing of the boat in there, um, which obviously will be cropped out. Okay, this isn't just an interesting quirk of cameras I'm going to talk about. Most of the time when I'm shooting, my white balance is set to auto, um, because yeah, like most modern cameras are pretty good with locking in kind of what the white balance should be. And if it's a little bit off, I can tweak it. If there's an effect I really want to get, I can tweak it. But also, like looking at a photo like this, which is primarily bluish, um, if I go up here, I can shift it all the way to that side of the spectrum. I mean, yeah, it doesn't look great, but it's still there's a lot more you can do with color uh, that I can trust my camera to leave it on auto and get me to a place I want it to be. But here's an interesting thing, because these two pictures are taken one after the other, and like one has the railing of the boat in it, and the other one doesn't. But the because you look at this, and like this photo is clearly a lot more like has more yellow in it, has more is it's more of a neutral kind of color palette, whereas this one is much more blue. And the difference is this railing. This railing here, the camera was correcting to try to get all of this to look right, and by adding that little bit of railing, uh, it's Stephanie. I'm really happy to hear that. Evelyn and Mia, you guys are great. Um, by having this little railing in the shot, the auto is trying to you know capture everything, and so ends up uh, yeah, just balancing. So these are very different just by having that railing in the bottom corner of the shot. Anyway, just an interesting little quirk of cameras. I love that one. I love the layers. We've already done this one on the nature of poetry shoot, and this is still one of my all-time favorite photos. This is yeah, no, this is every kind of photo that I like to take, kind of combined. Do I have a mask on? I do have a mask on the glacier itself, don't I? Yes, I do. Okay, I want to take that. I did a color range. Interesting. I'm gonna take that and bring the saturation down just a tiny, just by a couple of steps. Done. And I want to come down and I want to bring aqua up if I haven't already. I've turned it down. Let's turn that up a little bit. That blue was a little bit too harsh for me now looking at it. I want a little bit of a brighter. I want the blue of the glacier to be a little bit brighter. Anyway, let's do. These are some mountain shots. Mountains and water. By the way, just I know I talked about this. I've talked about this in on the previous times we've done Glacier Bay, but uh, just as a point of reference, we talked about this. But yeah, as a point of reference, like that's a 2 or 3 story ship. Come on, Lightroom, zoom out. Thank you. Yeah, that ship has one, two, three, four. It looks like 4 decks. And I believe that's the Glacier Bay National Park like tour boat, because the you don't really see, like, you can drive to Glacier Bay, you can get to the visitor center, but you don't really experience the park on land. You experience it, you get on the day boat and go out. So that's a 4 story boat, and that's it compared to the glacier, just to give a sense of size. Uh, Also, that's not a glacier, that's an ice field. The only difference between the two of them is that they're made of the same stuff. The only difference is one moves and one doesn't. Um, but this ice field way up here on top of the mountains. Here's the thing to know: fun mountain fact and glacier fact. Uh, if you see mountains, there's 2 types of mountains you might see. You might see mountains that are these are not the right examples. You see mountains that are kind of have that kind of jagged rocky peak, and then you see mountains that are more rounded over. Um, most mountains, yeah, I guess not counting the Rocky Mountains in the U.S., most mountains in the lower 48 are kind of rounded over. Any mountain that you see that is rounded over, pretty much regardless of where it is, a glacier at one point was on top of it. Like these mountains here that are uh, something like the highest peaks out here, something like 5,000 feet, give or take. This glacier originally was high enough to be on top of this thing, and that's how those mountains got rounded over. Because glaciers move, and it's basically it's a you know 4 or 5,000 foot thick sheet of sandpaper moving every year across the top of a mountain, and that's how mountains get rounded down. So, fun fact, I was just in Shenandoah, out in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and yeah, those mountains are rounded over, which means at one point, going back millions of years, a glacier was there. Of course, tectonic plates move, and the those mountains probably, you know, and the Appalachians are some of the oldest mountains in the world, and like I mean, another fun fact: the Appalachian Mountains predate Saturn's rings, which is kind of incredibly wild. But the Appalachian, yeah, they were not where they are now. They tectonic plates move and everything. But yeah, at one point, uh, millions of years ago, they were under a glacier. Just wild. Anyway, we are supposed to be choosing a photo, and I'm very bad at this because I like all of them. And yet none of them have grabbed my attention yet because a lot of them are just the same glacier. Um, this is kind of cool. This is a glacier calving. I can kind of click through these shots. Uh, Shot pretty quickly, one after the other, so there's not a whole lot of change. But yeah, that's a glacier. That's a piece of ice coming off the glacier and forming new icebergs, which is an important part of the ecosystem because without icebergs, harbor seals have nowhere to live, and without harbor seals, we have a whole completely changes the ecosystem. Um, so worth noting. There's your day boat again. Different boat. That's looks like it's got two decks, but still, there you go. Compared in size to the glacier. Yeah, I think I want to do something that's a little more. Let's do one of these wide shots down at the end here, like this. I get a good one with that mountain. That's not bad. There's some cool colors we can bring out of that one. Let's do this one. This one's kind of caught my attention. Let's do this. Okay. So, gonna tweak my horizon a bit. Okay. Something I've noticed about my photography, especially my nature work, is I'm a big fan of layers. I'm a big fan of seeing the depth of everything and just finding those moments, finding that, yeah, just the depth of it. So we got the sky, we got the mountain, we got this row of forest, we got this row of forest, and then we got the water. So let's see what we can do. My first step is always play with clarity. All right, I like that. I like bringing up that texture. I don't like what it does to the color. It's dehaze a bit. I like what that does to the color, but I don't like that it darkens it that much. We'll play. And then the texture slider just gives me more texture. Okay. I'm gonna do texture selective. I'm gonna dehaze kind of across the board. I'm bringing the shadows up a bit because I do want to really be able to see that. The highlights I can kind of leave. If I bring the highlights up too much, I'm gonna lose the texture in the sky. So let's not do that. Let's bring this up a little bit. We'll leave that kind of as is. And then we're just going to pull out specific things. Obviously, blue and green are our big colors here. So we're going to start. Let's crop this. Let's get more water in there. Uh-huh. All right, we're going to close this in a little bit just so I can pull this out and see what I want to get. So we could do that, but I kind of like the width of the photo. I do kind of like having that width to it. Gives you a sense of scale. Try to balance out the clouds and the water. Let's bring that down. Get just a tiny bit of that glare off the water, and then as high as I can. Thing is, because I've got this on a slight angle because of the horizon, because of my water line. If I bring it in a little bit, I can do a whole lot more with it. Some of that's looking good. I'm always glancing at the thumbnail up in the corner to be like, all right, is this just to get kind of a macro level view of it? Okay, cool. Got a lot of bright stuff too. Got not a whole lot of darks. That's good. That's a lot we can work with here. The shadows are there, the exposure in the middle, and then the highlights and the whites. Okay, cool. Let's start doing some individual stuff. We're going to start off by masking with a linear gradient because I want to do something with the trees down here. We're going to start off with this. Start here. Kind of put that there. Gonna extend this up so it just touches on these trees on the second layer, second row of trees. Let's go just a touch higher. There we go. Cool. All right, and then I need to subtract brush to clear off this side because we don't need this stuff over here. We want that to more or less stay pretty much pure mountain. There we go. To treetops. Excellent. That can all be the same. Excellent. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. So now I'm going to shift the color of this just the tiniest bit toward gold to again give me more of those distinct layers and yeah, make the green stand out a little more. I'm going to give this a little more of a dusting. There we go. Like that. That looks really good. Cool. I'm also going to go back to my subtract brush. I want to see the overlay. All right, because I don't exactly love what that's doing to the water. So let's subtract with a linear gradient. And can I see this? Yeah, okay, it's under there. Okay, so now bring this down because we have this very nice water line that I can just make use of. And we're going to subtract everything below it, so we still get the trees being that color. Done. And the water gets to be blue. Cool. Another one. Hey, Shelby Lynn, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I'm throwing everybody off by streaming midday, but this is going to be hopefully a more common thing because why not? Let's get stuff out here and be more visible at a realistic time. Okay. Let's do that. Let's bring this up. There we go. This one's just going to be about the water because I want to lean in some of the colors in that color in that water. But I'm push a little more toward green, a little more toward blue. There we go. Let that brighten up. I can do clarity darkens too much. Not a huge fan. Texture? I like texture. I like adding texture to water. I think adding texture to water is always a good idea. 1 second. Cool. Yeah, I like adding texture to water. I think it. I don't want to dehaze. I've already dehazed the whole photo. I don't want to. Don't want to. That's a powerful effect, and I kind of want to limit how much I do that. Tea. Delicious. It's been a while since I've had a really good strong black tea. Okay, let's select the sky. Let's get that. Let's separate that just to have it. Not necessarily, not sure I need it, but let's get it. Cool, looks pretty good. I'm gonna do a subtract brush, but I'm gonna bring the flow to, actually bring the density down to about 25%. And that just lets me, actually let's say to 75. No, not that, take you to about 75. Um, and basically the flow brush is basically, in some ways, if you think about it, in a painterly way, it's how much paint is on the brush. So if you brush over something more than, if you set it to 10%, and you brush over it 10 times, it's the same as if you brushed over it once. Basically lets you vary how strong the effect is. The density one is similar, but you can just basically set it to a number and it'll do that much. So I don't want to take it all off the mountain, but I want to take most of it off. There we go. Cool. So we've got the sky. I'm just gonna bring in the highlights down. Ooh, that gives me some nice purple in there. Hey, Purple Mountain Majesties, perfect. Gonna put that on vibrate for a second. Um, cool. Yeah, that looks good. Let's bring in upping the texture gives me a little bit more darkness. I'm not sure if I want to do that. I want more darkness in there, but I'm not sure I want to do it with texture because there's already a decent amount of noise up there. If I do it with the clarity slider, that's gonna do a lot more. There we go. That's I like a lot of contrast there. Okay. Nope, didn't want to do that. Didn't need to do it with a brush. Zoom in there. Okay, we're gonna denoise this. Not that it matters. We as a society are getting less and less concerned with noise when it comes to nature photography. Also, if you look back at like I've got an Ansel Adams print on the wall, and that has noise all over the place because it didn't matter. Um, in some ways, noise in a photo like this adds to it, I think, in my opinion. Okay, and then let's just play with the saturation. Because if I crank the saturation up, we're gonna get a whole lot of purple. Or a whole lot of blue. Okay. Go the other direction, we're gonna get black and white. I don't love either of those. I could push it to purple. Give us a nice purple sky there, but that's a little bit. I don't know. I'll do that on an individual level. Let's keep that down where it was. Bring up the whites a little bit just to brighten it. Want to bring up the want to have that so we've got some brightness without actually without it being the thing that draws the eye. I think the first thing I want to see is the ice caps on the mountain. Okay, cool. And I guess what I need to do next is try to get the actual mountain. And this will be fun. We're going to do two different linear gradients. We're going to do one here, right up top. That just gets the top of the mountain down. We're going to do a intersect mask with another linear gradient. Do a linear gradient down here, where we get the bottom of the mountain, basically going until, yeah, just like that. And then we will subtract with a brush and get rid of everything that we don't want. And that brush should be up to 100%. Yes, cool. So now we can erase everything that isn't the mountain. We get, yeah. And one of the things I try to do when I'm doing this kind of work is I try to like click, like not just keep the mouse held down and do it and try to do it in one stroke, because if you mess up and you have to undo everything. So a lot of little clicks, usually better. There we go. A little bit of that. There we go. Bring this down a little more. Kind of clear off just the edge of the trees, 'cause I don't want to affect them. And then we got to get rid of all this, which is nice and easy. I don't envision doing a whole lot to the mountain, especially not the color. I'm just gonna be doing the darkness stuff. Okay, that's not bad. I might add that later, but let's see. Bring the shadows down, bring the blacks down. That's gonna be, yeah, it looks that's something to work with. Let me go back to the really quickly take a glimpse at the before and after. Yeah, there always is that kind of thing. Okay, we're just enhancing. Cool. All right, back to the main photo. I do always kind of hate trying to do this mountain here. Let me get that subtract brush back. There we go. Again, having it in there. Well, we'll see. We'll keep working with it. Okay. Oop, that's too much. So then that's the whole photo. Let's keep working just on the mountain here. So bring up the clarity. I don't know. Texture, yes. I think bring up the texture makes sense. Dehazing, we've already done. We're not going to do more of that. No, go back to where you were. It's interesting when you darken it up, you can see all the patches of forest up there, and you can clearly see where the timberline is, which is very cool to see. Can't do that like that though. Okay. It's a little noisy. Let's bring that down. Okay. So done with that. Done with masking. That looks pretty good. Let's come down and play with some color. So obviously blues, everything, most of this is blue. We're gonna leave that more or less alone. Let's see. Bring up the greens is a good thing. Bring up the yellows, I think is good. There we go. We adjust the blues a little bit. We get it. It gives us a little more contrast. What if I bring up the purples? Okay, just that section of trees back there. We're gonna leave them alone. And then magentas, not really anything. A little orange in there. Really not much though. Okay, let's see. Yellow. Yeah, we'll brighten that up. We'll get that on the shoreline there. Kind of like that. This is kind of another photo where everything's affected by blue. That doesn't look too bad to me. Let's bring, yeah, I think pushing the purples in there all the way to the other end of purple makes them stand out a little more. Yeah, little bits of depth. I like that. Okay. Let's check one thing. If I turn this mask off. Yeah, I'm really hating that line. That line of the trees. I'm really, really hating that. Let's try it with with that mask off and see what I can do with. Go back to this brush. We're gonna bring the density down to 50%. Actually, this one we're gonna use flow. We're gonna bring the flow down to about 50%. We're gonna just gently kind of make that gradient a little smoother. There we go. Go real big and just kind of sweep across like that. We can bring the flow up, subtract even more down here. We can bring the flow down, subtract a little bit less up here. There we go. That gives a little more of a softness. Can I see what this mask looks like, please? Let's get this area up. That looks better. I like that a little more. Let's clean this area up here. There we go. It's this middle section. Let's get that a little cleaned up like that. That got it to what I want it to look like. Yes. Okay, so we got the peak of the mountain being darker and everything else is brightened up. Let's see. Cool. All right, so that photo looks pretty good. What's it like in black and white? Just out of curiosity. Now that I've done all the color work. I don't know. Kind of like it the way it is. Let's do that. Let's keep that, set that rating to 1. And now I think I want to do a shot that has it's just hugely a huge wide shot. Something big and massive, just gives you a sense of scale of this mountain range. Let's take a look here. Once again, difference between this shot and this shot, much bluer than this, and it's because of this little strip of green land. That's pretty close to identical. Ooh, that one's pretty good. That one's catching my eye. Sorry, is that an otter? We're gonna zoom in even more. We're gonna go to 400%. No, that's just seaweed or something floating in the water. You gotta wonder sometimes. Like to fit. Okay. Okay, let's real quick. I like all these photos. There's a lot I like in every single one of them. Something cool about that too, though. Yeah, I want to do a huge wide shot. I want to do one of these really big ones. Um, this is still in the bay, I think, or near enough to it. So one of these really got me. That one's pretty good. 295 is good. 295 or 297. The mountain. I'm just a cool one, a couple cool ones, but let's see. Ooh, all right, so 304, 297. I think at this point these are closer. These are closer. Yeah, okay. So it's 304 or 297. 297 has that sky, but I think 304 is the one I want to work on right now. I think we're gonna start with this because it just we talk about these. I mean, these mountains are thousands of feet high, and they're just so incredibly huge. But to see them back like this gives you a sense of scale that you do not get anywhere else. We can center this, and we can make this shot just about them like that in a way that, yeah, I really don't see elsewhere, and I like, and we can do a lot with this photo. All right, let's play. As usual, let's test the limits. Clarity. Oh, we're gonna be using the clarity slider on this one a lot. Texture. Texture maybe a bit, not so much. Dehaze. Dehaze is certainly the way to go, minus the saturation. Let's go. Let's start with clarity. I want this to be this one. I think this one needs to be black and white. I don't know. Maybe big maybe on that because I like the color. I like that the mountains. Yeah, the color difference there is great. I don't know about doing it in black and white. Let's keep playing. All right, highlights definitely down. Shadows, I think also down. Yeah, I want this to be contrasty. Hate that island in the way. You know what? This photo is gonna be black and white. That's what this one. Now I can dehaze it without worrying about color too much. Let the blacks be up. Let the shadows be up. There we go. All right, let's do a couple masks. Let's get the sky in there because I wanna really pull out the texture of the sky and the water. It's pretty good detection. We're going to add a linear gradient. We're going to grab the water here. That, cool. All right, and then we're going to subtract with a brush. Bring that way down, and we're just going to be, let's see, the flow can come up, the density can go to about 70, about 80. That works, and we're just going to subtract. We're going to get this island clear as much as I can. Let's clear up the edge there. There we go, like that. And then we're going to bring the density down to 50, and we're going to clear off the mountains. Because I want the harder edge on the water, and I want the mountains kind of be their softer thing. It's pretty good. Let's get that. Yeah. Okay. That works. All right. So now we can start adjusting. Yeah. That's looking pretty good. My noise reduce. That's going to be a much more. Eh. Actually, noise reducing a little bit actually works really well because it gives me a nice. It lets the because by nature of it, it softens by giving me. If I bring the texture down, that's gonna be. No, that takes the effect too far. It softens it enough that like I think your eyes are still drawn to the mountains, even though there's this massive chaos around them, which looks phenomenal. Something like that. Yeah. All right, that looks good. Let's come down here anything on here registering as green? No. Is anything on here registering as aqua? The water is. Everything here is registering as blue, except for the uh, except for that, which actually can help because I want to do something with that. Let's go here. New mask with a color range, and I'm going to click that. That didn't work. Let's try that again. It's better. Let's click here as well. Let's add. Nope. Nope. Go to another brighter spot. Something like there. Nope. Still getting the wrong stuff. There. Nope. Okay. We'll start with that. Then we're going to add. Actually, no. We're going to invert that. I'm better off doing this the other way around. Okay, so delete that color range. We're going to add a color range. Wait, why am I doing it? Why am I doing color? No, color's wrong. Add a luminance range. That's what I need. Boom. Cool. Let's refine it a bit. Because what I want is just that island, as much as I can get it. Not even the whole thing, just most of it. There we go. That looks pretty cool. Good. Subtract brush. Density up to 100. Subtract that section over there, because that's mountains. Subtract this section over here, because also, I mean, it's still forest, but it's also there. Okay, cool. So now, just working with that, I can make that thing interesting. Push it all the way to green. This is the thing, I don't know if I get to use I don't use the color sliders very often in black and white, or the temperature and tint ones, but it makes a difference. There is a different, like, it's one of the reasons if you see the behind the scenes of the movie The Lighthouse, because they were shooting with a certain kind of filter that did things to red, and it brings the texture out of out of things that are red, which does weird stuff to skin, which is phenomenal for the texture of that movie. But they wanted to do it with the clothes too. So if you see the behind the scenes of that movie, the movie's in black and white, but the on set, Robert Pattinson looks like Mario because he's got this red sweater and red hat on. Uh, because yeah, different colors still do different things in black and white, and that's worth paying attention to. Yeah, like that. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm always debating if I want to darken those mountains or not. I love the mountains being dark back there, but I also love that they're just. I don't know, something about that. I'm also sitting here being like, that's gonna be really hard to isolate, but let's try just for fun. If I do a luminance range on them, and try to get that gray, which is gonna be freaking everything. Um, that actually might work though. That might be enough. So I can kind of get off the clouds a little bit. If I bring this up, I can get it off the water. Oop, no, we're getting off the mountains now. Something like that. Let's start with that. We'll do a subtract brush and get it off the sky at least. We'll start by getting it off the sky because I might actually, the stuff I want to do to the mountains, I might actually want to do to the water as well. It's funny the way that works. Delete, 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 clear, clear, clear. Okay, cool. So now what I want to do is bring the texture all the way up. Yeah, that's what I want. That's just that little bit. If I bring the blacks down, or the shadows even, the shadows might be enough. That's gonna be some weirdness. Okay. There's something showing up in yeah, the shallows here. I don't like what's happening there. Let's soften that up a bit. Mostly, let's just, the feathering's all the way up. Let's just go here. And just gently soften that edge. There we go. That helps. Alright, let's quickly do a duplicate mask. Go back to this brush and we're going to get rid of the water on mask 4. Because I want to be able to do some stuff that's just the mountains. Let's get rid of all of it. Here, get rid of that. There we go. Cool. So just the mountains now. Now I can bring down the blacks if I want to. Yeah, that is pretty cool. Done. Let's go back down here. Got a little bit of purple in the sky. Don't want to do too much with it. That's the other thing I can do. I go back to the mountains here, and if I adjust the color on them. Let's leave it as is. I like it. Done. The mountains here. Yeah, we're doing the clarity and texture on that. There we go. A little bit of blacks. That looks pretty cool. I like that. Awesome. Click. Set the rating and good to go. Okay. Got about 20 minutes left on this. Let's do one more. At least one more. Let's jump back to one at the beginning. Ooh, you know what? There's one here that I keep liking because it keeps fucking with my head. One of the darker pictures of it. Let's do this one. It's kind of off center. Okay, so I like this photo for a couple reasons. Mostly because that looks like a fin. Uh, in reality, it is like it is a rock. It's a piece of rock just sticking out of the bay. But that just looks so much like uh, a dolphin fin or I guess it looks even like dolphin, maybe an orca, maybe a minke whale. Um, but I like that, so I'm gonna kind of let that drop into the bottom of the shot and have us edit everything else. Let's work on this one. This will be fun. Clarity, yeah, clarity's gonna be a good one for this. Dehaze is gonna be a bit much on this. I think I want to bring this down. Nope, not quite. I want to go to crop. Now, a little bit more. I don't necessarily need that intense looking sky. There we go. Bring the highlights down. Bring the whites down. I take the highlights, but leave them alone. Yeah, that brings out some of that texture. Upping the clarity is a great idea. Upping the saturation is a less good idea. Upping the vibrance is a really bad idea. Let's not do any of that. Man, this photo is almost black and white as it is. I might just let this be a monochrome thing. I'm gonna pull this in a little bit. Kind of put that. I guess I could. My options are either I can try to I could center that. I can try to center our little whale fin there. Yeah, let me do this one, and then I think I've got like I think this one a little more centered. A little bit. This one is not. This one's not, but you don't have the same. Let's see. Because I kind of like it off center, but at the same time, I want it to be clearly off center, make it so it doesn't look like I tried to get it centered and missed. So I can do with this one, because this one's overexposed, but overexposure usually, to my mind, means there's more you can do with it. This one might be the photo to do it with. Just to bring down that. Bless you. Everyone's like a bless you to Maria Lisa. She sneezed. Let's see. Texture. Texture up on this one is good, except for it kind of gives the game away on this guy. So we're gonna tweak that a bit. Let's see. Kind of like having the highlights up. I want to bring bringing the blacks down is better. That's much better. Um, I'm gonna come down here and brighten up the blues already because I know I want that to be a little bit. Don't want to be quite that dark. And this area here is very much kind of my defining what I can and can't do. Tea break. Delicious. Let's see. And bringing the contrast up on that doesn't really do anything for me. Um, you know what? I think that this photo again is screaming black and white to me. Just that contrast and composition. Oh man, bring the sky in. That's what that needed. Yeah, now we got a big S shape going on, like an underlined S. That's what this needed. Okay, cool. Play with some colors down here. Or we know blue's all over the place. Purple is in those darker spots. Leave that alone for now. Magenta, not really affecting. Red, really not. Green, no. Blue or aqua. A little on the edge though. It's bright. Let's keep that up. And then blue is the whole thing. The whole thing is blue. So let's leave that. Let's even brighten that a little bit. Make it a little bit softer. Okay. Let's see. Step one. Let's get the sky under control. Sky's pretty good. Needs a little bit of work. Cool. Looks good. Subtract brush with a fairly high density just to clear this stuff out a little bit. Just give me a little bit of that. There we go. Cool. Uh, Texture can go down. Clarity, yeah, clarity's a bit much there. I kind of want this to stay soft. Let's use shadows. Okay. Yeah, bring the shadows down. Kind of keep that. I like there's kind of a darker section in there, so I want to make sure. I want to kind of. I don't want to lose that. Ooh, bringing the highlights down gives us a nice. That's too much, but bringing the highlights down gives us a bit more of a bit more detail up there. I can vibe with that. That looks good. Cool. Oh, let's go down to like -7. Cool. I can definitely be on board with that. All right. Let's do one on the water. So let's create a mask and linear and just get the water here. Like that. Cool. This one's all about texture. Texture and contrast. Nah, contrast is a bit much. Bring the shadows up just a bit so we still have that. Yeah, I don't want that to be too dark. Texture back down a bit. Something like that. I think that looks good. Even that might be a little too dark. Let's bring the blacks up a bit. There we go. I want it to be a darker patch without it being, yeah, without it being that. As our whale looks good down there. Yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm pretty happy. If I play with the contrast just a tiny bit. Nah, if I bring the shadows down just a tiny bit. Nah, not really doing much either way. Okay, yeah. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Let's mark that one's done. Okay, well, that took 5 minutes. Cool. Bit of green in Glacier Bay. Let's do a shot with some green in it. Uh, yeah, let's do this one. Which one? This one or this one? This one, because I think if I pull the whites down, yeah, we're gonna find some stuff up there. Okay, so we're gonna do this photo. It's kind of cool that like even in Glacier Bay National Park, there's a thriving forest ecosystem. There's a lot of green and a lot of yeah. Um, a lot of the time I didn't see any on this time, but a lot like Glacier Bay you're coming across and you've got tons of those islands kind of out in the bay. Um, and yeah, you have a lot of spots. I mean, all right, looking at the photo we just did, like come on, there we go. Like this is all That's almost all rock. So there's plenty of spots where you do have rock coming right out of the ground or right out of the water. But you also have uh, I forgot I edited this one. You have spots like this where the like coming off the water is a forest, and on the a lot of times on the shores of those forests, that's where you in Glacier Bay. That's where you'll see moose and elk and deer and bears. So there's a thriving forest ecosystem in addition to the seals and the sea otters and the seabirds are all over the place. Um, that you'll see in the park. Okay, so clarity is not really what I want to do on this one. I think dehaze is the way to go. Bring up the texture. No, not across the board. I'm going to do the textures. I'm going to go and do that real quick. Do a linear gradient here and just do a very long. So let me zoom this out. Let me go out to nope, 12%. Wow. Okay, I got to go all the way to 6% to get this to be small. Lightroom, you got to get used to bigger format cameras. My camera's not even that big. Okay. All right. Let's adjust this. Instead of being straight, we're going to adjust it along the line, kind of following the peaks of the trees here. Come on. Like that. We're going to let this kind of extend down to about there. Actually, I'm doing this totally backwards. Let's flip this around 180 degrees. Because I want it more textured down there and less up at the top, but I don't want it all the way. I kind of want it something like that. There we go. To readjust our angle so we are still following the line of the peak. Something like that. Cool. And now we can up the texture. And that, yeah, now we're upping the texture. The stuff closest to us, but the stuff further back is still kind of gets its fog. Excellent. Let's select the sky. Because the thing I don't like about the sky, about dehazing this is the color it's pulling out is purple, and I'm not a fan. I think I want to desaturate the hell out of that. Okay, cool. So we're going to take that. We're going to add with a brush. Hit the density up. We're going to bring the flow down, though. I'm just going to gently sort of feather our way through this. Bring the flow down even more. That's too strong. There we go. Something like that. Just want to try to collect all the fog and kind of the light, like the spot here that's like a lot of fog. We're going to kind of run over that and make that more solid. The spots here that are less fog, we're just going to kind of run over once or twice to, there we go. Cool. So now I can take that and desaturate it. If I bring it all the way up, we get purple. If I take it down, we desaturate, and then I can push it a little more toward green and give this photo a nice green look. There we go. See the overlay? That looks pretty good. All right, we'll see if there's more that I need to get rid of. That spot right there might need a little bit of work. This spot right here as well. Yeah, some of these spots, but that looks good. Cool. Saturation, turn it down. There we go. Let's go down with that. Okay. We're going to keep the highlights up. Talking about separating the contrast, the shadows and highlights from contrast. Like, if I just bring the contrast up, it's going to get brighter and darker. But here, I can just bring the highlights up, and I can brighten that area while still keeping some of those darks. I can bring them down the darks down even a little bit. Yeah, let's leave them where they are. That's right. I'm not touching the tops of the trees. Okay, cool, done. That looks good. Let's go ahead and let's go back to our linear gradient here. Oh, what I want to do is I want to flip this around. Okay. Let's duplicate it. Let's get a second copy. Let's take this and we're going to invert it. So now texture's up at the top. We're going to take the texture and turn it off. And then we'll take the shadows and bring them down. So that will darken, let me see the overlay. That will darken the tops without darkening the bottom as much. Yeah, letting him kind of drift up into that darkness. Cool. Man, I love this photo. This photo is like, I didn't expect to be working on this photo, but I really love it. All right, we're gonna bring the greens up. We're gonna push the greens a little more toward green. Take the purples and push them toward blue. Which blue? Ah, there's a little blues in there. I don't like those purples. I want to adjust this. take this mask and keep painting a little more. Where's the brush? Okay, I see what I'm working with here. Let's take that. Let's do this a little bit like that. A little bit of tweaking there, kind of like that. Then we're gonna go with the, let me see the overlay. Cool. I'm gonna subtract brush. This one I'm gonna crank the flow back up. Didn't want to move that, just wanted to paint a little more. Let me see the overlay. Cool. Just the spots that are coming up is too green. There we go. That section there a little bit. That's what this is. Cool. That's looking pretty. Yeah, that section up there is just not cooperating with me. We're gonna have to get rid of that. Loose the edges. That's good. Cool. Yeah, I can live with that. This spot right here needs a little tweaking. That's about there. Cool, cool, cool. All right, awesome. Let's come back down to color. Take our purples, bring them down. Take our blues, and leave more there. Aquas, any aqua in here? A very little bit. We're gonna keep that down. Greens, a lot of greens. Where it is, because I want to, yeah, can live with that. There we go. That's better. Oop. Give me that back. Lightroom. Leave my control panel alone. All right. This is if you want the Instagram look. looks pretty good actually. Yeah, a little bit of light, a little bit of gold in the sky. I don't mind it actually. That's kind of cool. A bit much though. There we go. Something like that. Just try to get those colors to match. Done. I throw a big old contrast or clarity adjustment. The clarity's way too much. No, thank you. Let's do a bit of a contrast adjustment here, just to give it a little more of an edge to it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's something soft and pretty about it. No, no, I like that. Boom. All right. Well, I think with that we're gonna call it a day. Um, ah, crack my neck there. Um, yeah, I think with that we're gonna call it. Let me see the ones. Let me see the rated ones here. Let me see all the ones set to 1. Yeah, I'm gonna publish some of these on my website and start getting things uploaded. But yeah, so here's where we're at right now. This was a fun session. We'll see what we end up doing next time, whether we jump down to Virginia or we flip a coin again. So here we go. But anyway, thank you for joining. Thank you for being part of this. This is was a fun thing to do during the day. We'll be doing this more often. So yeah, share it, tell your friends, and there's my alarm, and we'll do more as we go. So on that note, take care, be safe, make good art, keep doing cool stuff and taking cool pictures, and yeah, find your find your vision for the world, and then yeah, snap a photo and show it to us. All right, see you guys later.